What's the craziest crime you or somebody in your family has committed? My cousin's husband got caught on a predator chaser's livestream trying to kidnap a 14-year-old boy. In college we got a new printer and printed off a bunch of fairly convincing $20 bills, roughed them up and used them at a bunch of fast food restaurants. Didn't realize how dumb it was until years later. My father committed one of the first computer crimes in the 90s. A ton of files were corrupted due to a code he created because they fired him. FBI invaded our home and arrested him. Was sent to federal prison for 4 years. Which was interesting because there was never a crime committed of its nature before. They made a forensics file episode about it. Edit. If anyone is curious. The company was Omega. My brother got completely inebriated one night and stupidly drove home. He woke up early in the morning to the sound of a baby crying. He looked around and noticed he didn't recognize the house. He quickly got up and walked outside to his car halfway in the driveway street and still running. Got in his car and drove away as quickly as he could. Turns out it was some random house about 5 to 10 minutes away from our actual house. He never knew whose house it was and never got caught. He also slowed down his drinking after that. My father, when I was still very young, used a fake name and pretended to be a wedding planner for a young couple. That young couple hired him, since he seemed trustworthy and is an excellent liar, giving him access to their savings for wedding supplies and such that would be needed. Instead, he stole all of the money out of their account and then ran away with it. As far as I am aware, he was never caught and the money was never returned to them. The worst part is that the poor couple never even got their wedding and had almost nothing left afterwards. My wife's cousin was arrested for the manufacturing of meth 3 times and was sentenced to life. His mom and dad all cooked meth and supplied basically the entire area. The worst part is that during his last arrest he was taking the fall for his parents. They were in large part why our small sleazy little trash heap of a town was one of the top 5 for meth in the United States at the time. My uncle stole one of those oil candles from our table at a Hard Rock cafe once. When we got outside he pulled it from his jacket with it still lit. My grandpa wouldn't obey the train warnings. He would try and beat the train rather than wait. First time he got hit in his new convertible on the way to prom with my grandma. Had barely started on the payments and car was totaled. Luckily they were both okay. Second time was a little less reckless but still dumb. He was driving a semi and it broke down on the tracks. He kept trying to get the tractor trailer to start, rather than lose his rig and load. Semi got hit by the train. Total loss and fucked up his back. My dad's cousin erased all family member names from a property deed except for his father's. The paperwork had been water damaged so there was no easy way to tell what should have been there. Family lore says that he also paid off some local politicians' office workers to make the new deed stand. A distant cousin got her terminally ill father to give her power of attorney and then stole all of his money so she wouldn't have to split it with her brother. *Edit. Don't worry. She did go to jail as her rush to clean him out involved a lot of fraud and forgery. *Edit 2. Man. It is slightly depressing how many of you have similar stories. What's up with people? He's dead now. But years ago my relative got in a bar fight and lost so he went to his vehicle to get his rifle. Fortunately the police arrested him on the way into the bar so his charges were a lot less. Still did jail time. My friend got blackout drunk and stole a bulldozer that had the keys left in it. He turned it on and obviously didn't know how to drive it so he just ended up making the scoopy part go up and down for a bit before the cops came. They actually let him go too. My sister shoplifts uncontrollably. She shoplifts everything everywhere she goes. Her daughter just turned 1 and she has stolen every bit of formula her daughter ever used. It's insane she's never been caught. My uncle sold Tim Allen the cocaine that got him sent to prison in the late 70s. My grandfather's cousin stabbed a waiter to death because he wouldn't let him use the employees-only restroom in his restaurant. I used to drive for my weed dealer. I was a new buyer but I never asked questions and was cool with him. His car broke down and asked if anyone could drive him. I said I would. And he liked that. I have my back windows tinted but not my front windows. I'd pick him up and we'd drive almost all day. It was pretty chill. He's give me free weed and pay me $250 a day. I still worked my part-time delivery job so I was very happy. He got his car fixed and didn't need me to drive him around anymore. Which is fine, considering his ex snitched in him and he got busted a couple weeks later. I worked at a movie theater when Back to the Future was originally released. We used to take the entire movie ticket instead of tearing them and resell them to the next group coming in. The old theater was massive. Sat 600 people. We probably made about $15,000 between two of us a month or so. Adjusted for inflation, it's about $37,000. We were the richest high school kids in our town. Cousin got busted robbing a bank. Got sentenced to jail. Proceeded to break out of jail with his cellmate and went on the run. Fast forward a few months and he's living in a hotel room with his cellmate. Cellmate orders a pizza to the room. Bad idea. Delivery guy recognized them and reported them to the police. They get arrested again, and shortly after my cousin killed himself in prison. My cousin had a wife and a kid and got into a nasty coke habit. We don't bring him up anymore. My dad told me he once snuck into a tire warehouse. He cut the alarm and came in through a window on the roof. And stole a bunch of tires. An uncle robbed a bank. Or was an accessory to the robbers. IDK. His brilliant escape when the police showed up was to go to the roof and jump off. He didn't do time. Just had to go to the hospital for a broken leg. I'll have to ask my mom when I get a chance. She knows the story better than I do. My uncle used to dress up with a group of friends as DEA agents in the 80s and raid crack houses, only to take the drugs and consume them. Not sure if it should be considered a crime. But one of my great-aunts was in an abusive marriage with a war vet who took to beating her and forcing her to play Russian roulette when he drank. One night she managed to rig the gun so when he took his turn he blew his brains out. She wasn't charged. Cousin was taking care of a woman in coma. He raped her. Little he knew was that her parents had set a webcam to check regularly if she would wake up. He deserved every single day he spends in prison. Deleted. My dad brought in a banana tree to the US from his home village in Kerala. He literally walked through customs with a tree in a pot in his arms. The customs lady asked him what he was thinking and he just replied that the banana tree was from his mother's garden. The customs lady must have thought my dad was crazy. But she just let him walk right through. We still have that tree and its offspring. My granddad accidentally shot his brother in the ass. He meant to shoot something out of his hand. But missed. Drunk. Genius. Hillbilly shit. Thankfully my dad married well. And I turned out alright. Not really a crime, as in not necessarily illegal. But my grandfather had two separate families in two different cities. Named both of his firstborn sons after himself. And they both named sons after themselves too. Including me. So I share my name with my father and grandfather. As well as a half-uncle and at least one cousin. When he was a teenager, my dad robbed a mother's cookies truck. Cookies for months.